Good morning, everyone. My name is Annie Fink, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for Wonderwork California. Thank you for attending our Learn in 30 webinar today focused on AVEVA Teamwork. After the webinar this morning, we will be doing a short Q&A. Please type any questions or comments into the Q&A box, the chat box, or you can email us at webinar@california.wonderware.com. Now I'd like to introduce your presenter for today's webinar, Tim Brost. Tim is an automation industry expert and has been a Wonderwork California product specialist for 2 years now. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Annie. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar on AVEVA Teamwork. So AVEVA Teamwork is a new solution to the AVEVA portfolio, and it's a cloud-based performance support application designed for the workforce, and not only just for the workforce, but also, to encourage engagement between the workers, management, and even the executive level. And the goal really is to speed up communications, support work as they go their daily operations, and really capture and share knowledge very easily and efficiently. So one of the challenges and trends that we see in the workforce is, critical information is not accessible. Maybe it's on, paper binders stored in, a closet somewhere, and it's not readily available, near the piece of equipment. So when maybe an issue happens or something needs to be investigated, that time of finding that information and finding a potential solution isn't as quick and readily available. In addition, the skills gap between the aging workforce who's retiring and new employees that are coming on, and finding a tool to kind of bridge that gap is, I think, becoming a more and more important topic as we progress. And so what AVEVA Teamwork kind of aims to do is connect the workforce and their daily operations. As I mentioned, right, workers will have instant access to work instructions, troubleshoot procedures, and being able to solve problems either by themselves or collaborating with their co-workers to find solutions to problems on the plant floor. For management, they'll have the ability to give real-time visibility into the plant floor and daily operations, as well as post memos about updated policies of COVID or whatever that might be necessary for the operations that day. And then from a corporate level, the ability to establish standards and very easily maintain those standards throughout either one facility or multiple if it's an enterprise corporation. So the main areas of focus that Teamwork aims to address can really be summed up in 4 categories. So communication, right, the ability to very easily communicate with each other on the plant floor to solve problems, and the ability to archive that communication and leverage it for future issues that might be similar. Digital knowledge, being able to quickly access information. For example, and you'll see this in a second, is in the demo, is being able to scan a QR code and having all the information on that particular area or piece of equipment readily available from a mobile device, whether that's a phone or a tablet. And then skills management, being able from maybe an operations manager, being able to track and maintain training within my with my employees. So being able to see when revisions of training need to be updated, and the levels of proficiency between my workforce. And then issues management, being able to, as issues arrive, have a kind of a library of things to reference, but also for things that aren't in that library, being able to very easily capture and archive those newly found solutions for future use. And really, kind of the culmination of an active Teamwork user is to facilitate continuous improvement of skills knowledge and really closing that gap between users. So the ability to employ this loop of identifying an issue, solving that problem, capturing and sharing that information, and then being able to train and learn on particular pieces of equipment, tasks, procedures, you name it, and then apply and improve those practices as you move forward, and then continue on and on. So, teamwork itself is very powerful, but a lot of times our users want to integrate or expose teamwork to other systems, whether it's SCADA or MES systems, maintenance systems, ERPs, quality management systems, etc. And Teamwork has an open API to integrate with those types of solutions. So for example, if you want to make readily available, in a manufacturing plant, OEE data, or have the ability for a what we call a call for help to trigger a work order with my maintenance system, that kind of integration is possible within Teamwork. And these are some of just the metrics that some of the existing customers have told us of how Teamwork has helped them. For example, decrease in safety accidents, reduction in waste, reduction in training time, and so forth. And depending on the nature of your facility and what you guys are trying to improve, right, those metrics might differ, but know that, with the engagement and collaboration of your workforce, that you'll see improvements overall in production. And so because Teamwork is a software as a service solution, right, the goal kind of is to have a rapid time to value. Getting started with Teamwork is very, very easy, and you can do it in a phased approach. Whether it's, getting started with just collaboration and calling for help for issues, and then slowly implementing, skills management, exams, those types of things inside of Teamwork. And then, because it's, an app on your phone or a desktop web browser, you can be very flexible in how you use it. And then, Teamwork is very secure, applying the best security practices for a software as a service solution, especially in the industrial environment. So let's go ahead and get to a demo. I'm going to minimize this. And what I have open, there you go. So what I have open is I have my mobile phone screen sharing, and I'm logged in on as a user. And then I have a couple other browsers that are logged in as other users that will kind of demonstrate an engagement within the workforce. And so the first thing when logging in is you'll land on this factory feed. And so this factory feed is the communications platform within Teamwork, where it kind of gives you a social media-like experience that, users post, comments, issues, updates, etc. And all of this is not only time-stamped, but filterable. So, depending on what I want to focus on or see, I can filter based on, maybe a plant or, for example, and apply those changes, and it'll update the feed and show those changes. Now, for example, let's say I'm, an operator and I'm on the plant floor and an issue arises, or I want to get information on a particular piece of equipment. I can take my phone and scan the QR code and outputs all the information regarding, in this case, wrapper A. It'll give, where the wrapper A is located in my production, and it'll include all types of forms, existing work instructions, and troubleshooting procedures on, known problems that have arisen either in the past or, very recently. I can also see news posts that are specific to that particular piece of equipment. So for example, if I go into the work instructions page, right, I'll be able to see all the existing work instructions of how to do standing operating procedures. And, let's say I wanted to search for, an operating procedure that's specific to adjusting the jaw. I just search jaw and it'll filter for me. And so with this, it'll have, in this case, this work instruction is a video, as well as, if I were to play it, it will be available. And also it has a step-by-step breakdown of that procedure. Now this can be in the video format, text, PDF, whatever makes sense for your organization. These work instructions can be formatted in that way. And in addition, right, let's say, I'm working on this issue or this area of the facility, and an issue that I don't know how to solve arises. I can then do what's called a call for help. So I'll click the plus button on the top right and publish a call for help. I'll give some identifying parameters, things like, what kind of category. In this case, maybe it's a production issue. And, I'll define the priority. Maybe it's a, high level priority. And if I wanted to make additional tags, in this case, it's already tagged for wrapper A, but I can tag workstation 1 and apply it. And this makes it easier for individuals who have applied certain filters to see that information. And then I can write a message of what the issue is, potentially, like there is an oil leak near the infeed. And if I want, and then if I want to attach maybe a video from my phone or a picture and any other documentation that'll help the coworkers within my organization help me identify and address the issue. So as I click save, this will notify who have been, users who are subscribed to that area or who are responsible for that area, as well as with any given piece of equipment, experts are assigned to those equipment, and they'll automatically get a notification. And that can be in the form of an email, a push notification to your phone, or they can just simply see it in their newsfeed. And they'll also have, an alarm bell warning or notification, rather, that, there's a call for help to be able to quickly assist and address Lisa, in this case, in the issue that she's seen. And so within, I'm logged in as Liam on this browser, I can then go in and make a comment I gotta update. So I can go in and make a comment to that solution. In this case, this was a previous call for help. And, the supplies are in my office. And address the solution for Lisa. Now, in that environment, right, I can see all the different types of issues that are currently open, pending, in progress, or resolved within my organization. And, given the right permissions, maybe I'm an operations manager, identifying that issue, and I want to archive that for future, I can take one of these resolved issues and create a troubleshoot based on the defined solution. So let's say I defined a solution of, what that issue might have been. I can define it for, hey, I want to be saved for later, and I can archive that solution. So then when I navigate to a piece of equipment in the future, it'll be archived. If I show you in that troubleshoots, it'll be archived in this troubleshoots section of existing and known solutions to problems that have been encountered in the past. Now getting to skills management, right? So as a user, I can look at my profile and I can see, maybe if there's specific assignments, if I've been tagged, like using an @ tag, like you would in social media, for example, or, Teams. And I can also see my skills progress, right? These are all the skills that have been assigned to me to learn based on my responsibilities within the facility. And they're broken down into, high level facility specific skills, and then as you drill down into line specific or workstation specific skills. And I can see the ones that I've completed, and the icon on the left will give me an understanding of my level of proficiency. And if you see these the red time icon, if a revision or an update of that skills learning is needed. Maybe there was a version update of that specific skill of how the corporation needs to accomplish that. And I can also view that report, of things that I've need to do or have done. And so in terms of troubleshoots, I've done 80%, whereas work instructions, I've viewed how to do 50% of them. And I can see the category in which those quantities are applied to, and I can navigate directly to those issues and work on, learning known work instructions and or troubleshoots. And going back to that piece of equipment, right? I mentioned, right, you can integrate other things like, a dashboard, for example. And so this is just a dashboard. I was actually in Teamwork. This is leveraging Power BI of just dummy OEE data, but I'll have that handy to me from my mobile device. So going to maybe a manager's view, if I go and I'm gonna bring this screen up and I'll move this over. Right, I'm logged in as Samuel on this screen, and as a manager, I have a couple other features available to me. In this case, we saw the Kanban view of, the state of current and known issues, but I also have an approvals dashboard. So I mentioned that with any given work instruction, troubleshoot procedure, right, you can apply revisions or updates to new work instructions, and they can go through an approvals procedure as if they want to be implemented into the system. So in this case, I need to, as Samuel, need to approve this new work instruction for cleaning the vision system. And so I can, go through it, evaluate it, and then upon, approving it, I can approve it, give a comment if I want to, and it'll be approved. And so now when I navigate navigate to an area of the facility or just want to learn this work instruction, this will be available to all users who have that access. Now, we saw how an individual can maintain and monitor their own skills. But let's say that they want, from a managerial perspective, I want to, manage and get a visual of my entire team. So if I click this team view, I can see all the individuals that, are under my supervision and see the level of proficiency they are in a variety of skills. So we can see Lisa Allen's skills that we saw before, as well as all the others. And if, the degree of proficiency, which is identified here. so we can get this legend of what each of these icons mean. Now, this could be used in a scenario of, maybe I have to have somebody cover a shift for somebody, but I need to make sure that that person is, qualified to do certain steps that I need for that shift. And this can be used to kind of, quickly address on who might be available. Now, what I kind of glanced over, but on the left and even in the mobile app, you'll see that all the information is kind of grouped in a hierarchical structure that's logical to where it's located on the plant floor. For example, individual plants, production lines, workstations, pieces of equipment, products, etc. And while this is a specific manufacturing example, those kind of hierarchies will be able to be changed and better fit for the vertical that you might be involved in. And then the other things that are available are, the total list of training content that I can see. I can make edits. Maybe this version is pending approval, approved, and I can view that piece of work instructions. I can do the same with troubleshoots. For colleagues, this will show all the individuals that are part of my organization, and if I drill in, we'll show specific information regarding what they're allowed to do. For skills management, right, similar to the training content, but it'll allow me to define individual skills, types of exams, and define the categories of those skills and exams. And then we'll have analytics, right? How is my user engagement? Can I define, are my users adapting to it? One of the problems that, we see with any given solution is that, adoption of a new solution can be challenging. And so these things, these metrics, whether how many days have they logged in, and I can see kind of a quick glance and who's logging into the system, the level of activity per user, and then reporting for that, as well as engagement from collaboration or training perspective. Things like the types of news posts or numbers and quantities of call for helps over a time period. And the same goes for work instruction creation and troubleshoot creation. And then lastly, right, the administration page. How can I implement this solution very easily and efficiently? Well, the first thing is that the ability to mass import users and equipment from an Excel sheet makes this process a whole lot easier. And then, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint portion, implement this phased approach, get, the communication and troubleshooting issues going initially, and then slowly phase in things like adding in forms, whether they're existing maybe PDF documents, or I want to templatize those forms digitally, I can create those within Teamwork. And then things like, the endorsement levels and the definition of those, and I can edit those. Translation details, so if you have different languages that you need to support, you can define those languages, for example. So I can show the languages and define the translation for that specific, in this case, endorsement level. And then, define any integrations that I need to incorporate, as I mentioned before. And, maybe things like approval settings, how I want my approvals to do, who can approve things at a corporate level, and, at a more lower level down to maybe a production line. So with that, I'll conclude the Learn in 30. And Annie, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them now.
We did have a few questions come through. So our first one is, I have a large workforce. Does Teamwork have size limitations?
So there's no size limitation on the number of users. the amount of content that you can associate for any given content is unlimited. The only restriction on that, I think, is you can't have a video that's larger than a single video that's larger than 2 gigabytes. On the minimum requirements, the entry level from a commercial licensing point of view for now is 50 users. However, that's, can be flexible.
Okay, perfect. Our next question is, we start off with 0 content, and do we need to build it over time?
So you can import, if you have existing content, you can import that existing content through the forms of videos, maybe it's, PDFs or scans of existing documents. But then, on top of that, right, you can slowly build up your library if there's gaps or, revisions that need to be made with the digital tools within Teamwork.
Okay, perfect. And then does the plant floor need access to the internet?
So the production system itself doesn't need access to the internet, but the devices that you are interacting with, maybe it's your phone or a tablet, need to have access to the internet as it's a software as a service solution.
And then do you offer services to help us develop content?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we do is kind of facilitate our users who want to get involved with Teamwork and ensuring a smooth implementation. And by that, one of the ways we do that is provide services to get you going and started.
Okay, and then our next one is, what's a ballpark per user price?
So the ballpark per user price is within our the lowest rung of our AVEVA Flex model, which goes into approximately $30 a user.
Okay, perfect. And then how are skills updated via any training content?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How are skills updated via any training content?
So skills, so on the completion of a skill, the user would complete the skill and then request an endorsement, and then the supervisor can approve that approve that skill, and so they're now then been verified to do that skill, as opposed to updates on maybe there's a change to the exam or procedure of how I want my users to do that. That'd be done from like an administrative view that you saw, where you can edit and manage those different skills.
Okay, perfect. And then do you offer off-the-shelf training content for OSHA, food safety, etc.?
That I'm not sure. I could get back to you on that.
Okay, and then can content be viewed on wearable devices like the Halo Lens or RealWear headsets?
So the information is viewable from a app that's on iOS or Android marketplace stores, as well as from any HTML5 browser. So if those tools have the ability to access either one of those, then you can access Teamwork.
Okay, perfect. And then how are new instruction updates based on new approvals distributed to users?
So they'll get a notification that, hey, the work instruction that's under, an area that you're responsible for, there's an update to that work instruction. Please review and complete it, and they'll have a time to do that. So they'll get a notification within their environment.
Okay, perfect. And then do companies typically start with one plant and grow, or do you see companies rolling out to all plants at one time?
So I would say it really depends on the company, but what we've seen is that, even with those pilot production or pilot solutions where they, start maybe small, is they'll, get really, excited and hooked on it and quickly expand that out once they see how easy it is to implement and really the acceptance of the adoption of the solution. So we see it both, but even with the smaller pilot level solutions, we see those customers expand pretty quickly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tim, and thank you to everyone who attended. If you would like to review any portion of this webinar, a recording will be available on YouTube and our website, california.wonderware.com, once available, and you'll be receiving a copy of it via email. Thank you again